Okay, so I've talked a few times on here about how Gracie and her parents are now in Oklahoma. And I'll be honest, this ear's going to drive me nuts, so I'm going to just take this down. Because I kept looking up and seeing this pink ear on the top of my head. My alien back next to my bluey, my Tazzy. Um, just hang on to this guy, I guess. Since it was like behind my head. Anyway, okay, so Gracie went to Oklahoma with her family. And I've talked a few times on here about how that pretty much just put everything up in the air for me, right? Because while she was here, I had the respite care job that I was doing, and I was dog sitting for them on occasion. And so when they left, they went to jobs, right? So I've kind of been working with this, right? This is where I'm at this point in time. Is the I have a lot of things that I know I'm supposed to be doing. Like I know I'm supposed to be doing the writing. I know, okay, I don't know about supposed to, whatever. One thing I want to do is like have like a little online shop where I can like sell my like frames and stuff that I paint. Um, Never braved that one yet to start trying because the process of packing things up to ship them out kind of intimidates me. So I haven't been moving on that in a while. You know, I got a bunch of frames a while back that I was going to paint so I could start, and then I kind of fell off. But part of why it fell off was because, I was helping my brother with his move and all that stuff, and, just trying to gain clarity with everything that was going on. Otherwise, helping with the kid and the dogs where I could and all that fun stuff. So that's been a big thing. Okay, so and I talked the other day about how I debated on doing the mandatory training for the company that I worked with for the respite care. But then it's like when I clicked into the courses, it's like I would rather stab myself in the eye with a fork. I cannot do this. It's like there's just no interest in that whatsoever. And then I thought, since I'd spent a lot of time with Gracie, because I took her to Oklahoma. Her dad had the truck with their stuff in it, and I had the car with a chunk of their stuff in it, but also the dogs and the kid. So it's like I spent a lot of time with the kid, and I maxed out the hours that I was allowed to use for the time. So it's like, let's just let it be a good paycheck to end off on and walk away and just call it there. But I've been thinking I needed to focus on the stuff I know that I need to be doing, right? So I set the intentions that I was going to make it a priority to do certain things for the month of August, right? Because I have literally no idea what's going on. So of those intentions, some of what I put was write at least 3 hours a day. I had intended not just journaling, but the journaling is actually honing in more on the immediate path ahead. So I've been letting that be the thing because it's entirely necessary, and I am writing at least that in that time, right? Twin flame journals, all that stuff, making sense of the path. It's all right there together, right? So another thing was I wanted to skate at least 4 times a week. And so that's kind of been one of those things that I've been trying to prioritize a little bit as well. Yesterday I did not think I was going to skate, though, because of course 4 times, that still leaves 3 days where I don't have to skate, right? But, where I was at before, there were weeks where I would have to make myself take a day or 2 off to let my legs recover. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, just where I'm at. Wanted to get at least 4 days in, right? So I don't even remember all the things that were on the I think they mainly revolve around getting a game plan to move ahead and figuring out what I'm going to be doing, what I want to be doing, all that fun stuff. So yeah. So Wednesday, I went back to my class at Interpath. And I just got this real strong sense. It's like, my solid support system that I had is not currently available because they're in Oklahoma. And yeah, I can still text them and call them or whatever, but it's still not exactly the same. So I got this really strong sense that I needed to go back to the class, right? So I went to the class. And, I was still kind of really... I shared with a few people at dinner that night the deal with the posters and how, I was looking at it, and all at once the 3 posters came together for a single message of right, the universe provides, trust the process. And it was kind of a funny thing because the trust the process has apparently been an ongoing theme for several people in the group, and has been mentioned, like a couple people mentioned it at dinner, and they were talking about it, but I'd heard it mentioned in the group as well. But there were a few things from the group that were really relevant, and originally I had thought I probably shared that a little bit with that, but somebody else was talking about going to Costa Rica and the ayahuasca thing, and she had tried 4 times to get back to the States before she was actually able to do it, and talking about the things that she was able to do because she stayed there, and some of the connections she was making. And it was kind of funny because Annie came out to turn in the receipts for the class for who all had gotten there and paid and everything, so they could do the count and make sure everybody was accounted for and all that fun stuff. And when she was out there, she saw me and she said hi and looked excited to see me, and I said I am coming to class today, because the last few times I had been there and saw her, I wasn't going to class. I was just there to be there in the store for energy, I don't know, brainstorming, thinking about things. I spent a lot of time looking at books, and trying to get an idea of things I would like to learn about too, right? So, I've talked about the palmistry and the reflexology, and then I ended up finding these courses that were discounted on Udemy. So that was the thing, and it's what the hell, there's a discount on all these things, and I want to learn about them, so I went ahead and purchased them. I have not started them yet. That's been one of those things that I thought I could do for August, but it's not that I'm not there or not going to be there, but it's not exactly time just yet, I don't think. But I have them waiting on me, so when I do have a moment, I can go look into them. But, okay, so one of the things I was thinking about class, and I talked to a lady about it afterwards, we're talking about, somebody mentioned shadow work, and then somebody else was asking questions about it, and, it was just kind of a back and forth, and there were a few things that I thought about potentially chiming in, and it's no, I think I just want to sit here and listen today, and, see what I'm taking in, right? Because there are always messages. And okay, so one of the things, oh, when Annie saw me outside or out in the store, and I told her that I was going to class, and she said good. And then as I was getting ready to go to the room, she said me and Kennedy, which was the girl that went to Costa Rica, she had seats at the table for us. Which basically, there were a whole lot of people there that day, and like the circle was full, but then there was me and Kennedy, so we got to sit at the table, so we were still included in the group and all that. But I think it helped being close to the energy too from, she had the ayahuasca ceremony and all that stuff, so she's still feeling on a high from from everything with that, and like the connections she had made, and even like notes she was writing in the class. One of the things yeah. Back to me not knowing where my start point is, because I think there are various start points, which is ultimately the purpose of my path. Is there are multiple start points. The important part is starting, right? So, okay, when they were talking about the shadow work, I was thinking about the stuff with my dad this week, so I did the one video a few days ago where I was pretty much in tune with my shadow side, I guess. And see, I don't even know that it's fully that necessarily. Anyway, the thing that happened with my father, I don't even remember what started it that time, but what I said was, if there was an inheritance, that would make it easier to do something else. But a part of me just wanted to also, send a final fuck you their way and walk back and never look back when I left, right? So, probably not ideal all the same. But, yeah, I was talking to somebody in the group that I hadn't talked to in a while because I haven't been there in a while, right? And I told her about that whole thing. And I said, I struggle with the idea of it being a shadow thing, because she's getting ready to mess up my video, I think. I hope not. I struggle with it being a shadow thing because I feel like with my family, I've had so much that I've been locked into on toxic ideas and viewpoints, and turned them in on myself. So I feel like it's more connected with the boundary of not getting run over by the people who, our existence together has been them running me over and me allowing them to run me over, right? So the boundaries thing has been kind of the struggle. So, so I told her about about that whole thing, and that I had said that, and then it's like, that's still not really ideal. It's not a hugely loving thing that I want to walk away with a final fuck you and all that shit. But it's something that I got to work with at the moment. But then, she said that it was just something that you just kind of maybe want to be mindful of what energy you're putting out into the universe, because that will come back, right? And that makes sense. It was like, where are you able to set the boundary and not get run over, but also still be able to have compassion and all this other stuff? It's like, this is just a tricky thing altogether, right? So, yeah. Okay, so I was kind of thinking about that. Something that Kennedy had said during the group was, okay, she was kind of thinking broadly. I'll say it that way. And she talked, the way she was talking about the thing, a lot of us knew where she was coming from because it was a phonetics sort of thing, right? Because she was talking about love, and like if you reverse the letters, it's evil. Obviously not spelled evil at that point, but phonetically the idea is the same, and she was latched onto that idea, and like it threw a whole bunch of people off in the group because that's not how you spell it. Which also, I didn't think about it then, but as I was thinking about it yesterday and this morning a little bit, it's like that takes me back to when I shared a joke on Facebook, and it was something very ridiculous, and it had to do with like there are more penguins in Antarctica than there are people in Ireland, and if there was like some kind of conflict and the penguins invaded, you know, all the people would have to like fend off so many penguins or whatever. So just the whole thing was ridiculous, but it made me laugh, and I shared it because I knew my brother would get it and he would laugh too. And so of course there were some people that chimed in, like the most, you know, there were two that I had connected with through roller derby, not been particularly close with, but still, since they were roller derby connections, had them as friends on Facebook and whatnot, and they both were, like the whole thing just didn't sit right with me, and eventually I did, like, it's like, you know what, this is if you have to take it this way rather than just accepting that it's funny, you just don't need to be in my space. Right? Because, you know, the one guy comes up with like a comment about, "Ooh, you're so pretty," kind of like, because you're so stupid and don't get the numbers, you didn't do the numbers of the factoring kind of a thing. And the girl comes along and says, "That math isn't mathing right." And I said, "Look, I don't give a shit about the math." I said, "That is completely irrelevant to me. I am looking at it for the joke sake, and the idea of people having to fight off all these penguins, and that the penguins would even want to invade the space anyway, like all these different levels of the ridiculousness of it, that I can see that and laugh," right? So then that takes me to this group where what she's talking, or what Kennedy was talking about, wasn't exactly, it was more broad thinking, right? It's the sound of love, the letters of love being flipped sounds like evil, right? But then there were those people that just got so hung up on, that's not how it's spelled. It's like, oh my God, you're not getting it. But it's like, I was getting what she was saying, but I was also, it's like, I think that was a big part of the message for why I was there. Because what I spent time thinking about yesterday is essentially, okay, I've talked a lot about how, like, my family was so obsessed with my grandfather's death. Like, everything revolved around that man dying, and we had to keep him alive as long as possible, and he was sucking the life out of all of us, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Another random layer of kind of humor that I see that I've thought about a lot. You know, I talk about transmuting the dense energy and whatnot, and how like the really dense stuff latches on to my energy, and I have to find a way to alchemize it and make it something different, right? So when I was walking around the cemetery, because that's always been one of my places that I enjoy walking my dogs, because it's peaceful and there's not a lot of people around. a lot of living ones anyway. But I was just thinking about, like, okay, like, I get why people do it. Why, like, why past generations especially were really concerned about making the stones pretty and all that stuff, and you're still taking care of them after they're gone, kind of a thing. But one of the things that really set in with me was, and I don't remember if it was actually a scripture thing, a Jesus thing. I don't remember where I heard it, but the idea of let the dead bury the dead. And it's essentially the people that, you have to die to all you believe yourself to be to step into the fullness of who you are and to truly live, right? You have to die to the ego and find, really come to understand she must have asked the question in the last text, because now she's acting like I should be on it, and I'm just not, because I'm in the middle of this and I don't want to lose this right now. Especially since it's been so complicated already. Anyway. So I would be walking around the cemetery, and there's all these stones that are dressed up. Like there's at least one of them, or one area that has like covers for the winter months so it doesn't get messed up that way, and all these things, or the pretty flowers or the flags or whatever. And the idea of letting the dead bury the dead just really hit. And then what I was thinking with what Kennedy was talking about with, okay, it's like, oh, okay, so obviously phonetically I get the message she's talking about, right? But then it also makes me think that means, because I don't often just flip the words unless I have reason to do so, or just a stray thought to, hey, look into this. But then that makes me think, okay, so live is evil reversed, right? So the idea that came to mind for me was like all the negativity with my family and whatnot. It's essentially comes from them being made to feel like death is the be all end all, and so it's this thing that you have to try to avoid, but you can't really avoid it. But all that ends up happening is you end up trying to pull other people into negativity. So because you can't truly live, that's essentially where evil comes in at, right? So you start okay. I've noticed with some of my family, my uncle that died last year, and my grandma's really into them. Like, for my uncle, it was Cops, the show. And for my grandma, it's like police chases and all this stuff. It's like, it feels like she's watching these things to continue emphasizing all the bad that she accepted as truth in her existence, right? So because she's never really been able to, she bought into my grandfather's bullshit. She signed into that energetic agreement where, she was catering to his bullshit all her life, and, she never did anything else because it was all about him, right? And then she had kids, and he didn't want to be a bully and beat on little girls, so all the discipline went to her, and it was beating on the kids, right? So that's where that stuff comes in, because you're not able to really be in tune with who you are and know who you are and what you want in life. So it's like, because you resent the existence you've bought into, it makes it okay to bring other people into that chaos with you, right? So because, I don't know, it looks like a bruise. I don't know that it is. Maybe it's probably makeup, but I don't know. Anyway, it just got my attention. But anyway, since you don't get the opportunity to truly get to know yourself and to truly know what it is you want from life, you try to bring other people down to the negativity and to the harshness and the chaos, right? So, and I'm thinking about the people that when I was younger and, basically saw all these, when I saw how I was getting treated, when I would find somebody who reflected the softer side of life, it felt like I needed to attack that, right? So I'm immediately thinking of, the longtime family friends, they have their oldest kid is a daughter. She is like 6 months older than me. And so that was always a thing. And like, she was my best friend for a lot of years. But then also, she was one of those people that was really genuinely nice, right? And she really cared about others and all this stuff. So when I started noticing that my life was shitting on me, essentially, I took it out on her, right? So there was a span of time where I was really mean to her because she was able to have that softer side, and I kept getting attacked for it. So in a way, it was like I thought at some level I was helping anybody by squashing the goodness in them because the goodness had been squashed in me. But the fact that you can notice those qualities in somebody else, good or bad, means that those qualities are also there in you, which is really complicated. So when she was talking about evil, it's like that's where the idea comes in at. It's because it's the thing that's supposed to be. You're supposed to be here to live and to have life that you enjoy and can learn things from and through and all this stuff. But to be blocked from the things that you love and would potentially enjoy, that's where we turn on each other. That's where we start trying to bring other people into the chaos, because it's not fair that we get sucked into the chaos and they don't, or whatever. But it's like, whatever you see, good or bad, you're able to see because it is also in you. And that's been a very interesting thing for me to really come to terms with, I think, because, it's like, I've talked about a lot on here about like the narcissistic bullshit with my grandfather and all that, and, being scapegoated. And essentially it's for that purpose, right? They saw that in me and they set out to squash it. But it's one of those things where it was all at this energetic level. They probably didn't have the cognitive ability to realize that's what they were doing. They just started setting in on me, and then I had to deal with it. And quit licking, dude. Sorry, Tess started licking himself. Now he's licking my foot. Cool. Anyway, so when I was sitting with those 2 points, like the conversation at dinner with the lady about the thing with my dad, and then the conversation or the thing that I had picked up from what Kennedy was talking about, what it inspired for me to continue with. It's like, so basically, to stay in this existence, in this space, is ultimately the thing that also challenges me to not shift into that, keep shifting back into that negativity, right? And it's like, I want to live, I want to have a life, I want to do things that I want to do, right? I want to have relationships with people, like friendships and, like a genuine love situation, all these these good things. And in this space, I feel very blocked from that. I talked about when I was, I made the connection when I was in Oklahoma, and the entire drive back home, as soon as I hit the Indiana state line, it's like, it felt basically the image that's coming to mind is like a spool, but like with wire, and it's just like pulling you in, and it's not welcoming and friendly and the good things. It's just very heavy and harsh and not so good, right? So it's like, so then the other day I talked about how I made the bold declaration that this is the last full month that I will be here. I don't know how I'm going to make it work, but I have to go somewhere else. I cannot stay here. Uh-oh, my mom's coming. Hold on. So, for a little side note, she apparently wanted to know if there's any more laundry to be taken over to my grandmother's house to finish up over there, because our dryer doesn't work right now. And they have ordered parts. But because it doesn't work, she's taking stuff over there. And she wanted me to check her bed to see if there's stuff. Now, I'm just trying to not let my phone make the video go, or lose the video, while she's still here. So, we came outside, and yeah, she walked over. So, I don't know why she did that, because if there is laundry, then she's going to have to take it back over there. And I'm not volunteering for that task. Cobweb on my foot. I put my stick on the grill, and it apparently had a cobweb on it. But yeah. So to stay here where I have the videos where I say the things about my family like I do, it's like, that's not really ideal either. That's not what I want to keep putting in the world. Or, and I talked about that one day, how I wanted to not shift to the pessimism, to the heavy aspect so much. It's like, that's really hard not to do here. It just is. This is the existence that has always been the existence here, and I don't really know how to be anything other or else in this space. There's a butterfly really high in that tree. And yeah, so then I was thinking, okay, then I pulled some cards yesterday, and that I kind of want. One of them was the Two of Wands. Like, all the cards were relevant, and I had it next to my bed because I was going to share of them. But since we are temporarily disrupted, I will say one of the cards that I pulled was the Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands especially in the Light Seers Tarot, was speaking, because I still look at the guidebook. Was speaking to, there are two wands in front of you. One of them is the comfort of what you've always known, but it doesn't lead to new adventures. And the other leads to new adventures, but it involves walking away from the comfort that you've known. So there's like, I pulled the cards, right? And then I laid down for a while and did a couple of meditations and kind of dozed off. And then, I ate some dinner, and then I was like, I really want to go skate. And firstly, for my skate yesterday, I had talked about my best time. My 5th mile was my best time. It was a 7 minute and 45 second pace. It's like, wow. When I was listening to music and kind of thinking through things, when that information popped up, the app came up and said it was like 7 minutes and 45 seconds. I was like, did I hear that right? So I looked it up, and I had heard that right, and my 5th mile was 7 minutes and 45 seconds. So I was pretty impressed. Come a long way since my 14-minute miles. So yeah, and that was one of those things. It's like, I had watched a Kino tarot reading yesterday, and she said that she had something come up where she came across one of her old notebooks that she had written run times and like how fast she'd run and all this stuff. And she said she hadn't really thought about the progress that she made until she looked back to one of these old ones and saw, where she was at then, and realizing how much it had changed from then when she started. It's like, that's what that was. It's like she was getting me ready to have this idea come back to me. Because it's like, there are messages, we get messages every single day. And it's a matter of if we are paying attention or not, right? And most of the time we're not. And most of the time we overlook them and don't even think of them as messages. There's something somebody said. But there's messages because, some things start repeating, and then it's like, until you can't ignore it anymore because it's meant for you. That was like, now that I'm open to them and realizing that there are messages, I pay more attention. And, I might not catch it on the first, second, third time when the time is right and that message hits me, and then it's like, wait a second. And then there's no turning back because it's there and it has registered, and now I have it and I will retain it, right? So, like one of the things I'm thinking of with that is like the, see if I started looking over there. I don't know if she was watching my mom go back or what is going on currently. If my mom goes back, I will go back in. But yeah, I talked about, I had the visualization the one day, and like where I saw my videos as like a part of a petal of a lotus flower. And then I said that, right? I said that in a video. And then several weeks later, it came back up, and I had the same visual. And guy's working. I had the same visual, and I was doing a video, and I talked about it again. Then I realized I've said this before. Now that won't go away. Like, that is stuck with me, right? That's stuck in my head because it was an important message. It came to me once. I missed it. I got it enough to say it, but it didn't fully register. But then when I came back up again, it's like, oh, there's something to that. Now I'm realizing that's part of even the book title. And yeah, a whole lot of stuff coming together with that information. So, and then too, like when we were at dinner, the lady I was sitting next to was talking about all these wild stories that she has. And, she shared a couple of them, and she said they're hilarious and blah, 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 and people tell her she should write a book, but yeah, she just hasn't gotten around to it. And I just looked at her, I said, so write one story every night, and then eventually you'll have it done. And she said, I received that this time. She said, I have heard that before, and I didn't receive it. Now I receive it. It's like, there you go. So it's like the right parts of the information come to you, and then when it's time for it to really register, you're not going to be able to miss it. Okay, now she's leaving, so hold on. Okay, so she had a trash bag. That was her method. How do I want to share all of them? I might as well. Okay, so the cards that I pulled the other day, going back to the previous message, and anyway, first was the Queen of Swords. Says she asked you to be honest in your relationships, in your speech, and witty if you want to be, but above all, bring clear-headed, unbiased reasoning to the table. Then Eight of Pentacles. See. I'll just read all of it. Mastering a skill, an expert craftsmanship, the Meraki that you put into your work, methodical process, patience, determination are the best ways to ensure your success. Mastering this skill takes time and perseverance, and shortcuts are not the best way forward as you build your experience. Remain dedicated to excellence and to developing your unique form. Study, practice, improve, and thrive. Put your love, your soul, and energetic essence into your work, and bring it in a consistent, methodical way. Perfect your craft, imbue joy into the repetitive things you find yourself doing. Consistent action is called for. And Six of Swords reversed. Difficulties accepting help, resistance to change, arduous transitions, carrying baggage and weight from your past. Allow the gentle support of the universe to move you through this ocean of evolution and lead you towards silver linings on the horizon. Then Judgment says self-realization and understanding, spiritual awakening, redemption, knowing your motives and heart to be true, total transparency, glorious unveiling of spirit. Shed any negative facades, drop the masks behind the masks. It may feel risky, yet this profound act of self-acceptance will unleash your absolute essence. There is no way to understand your full potential until you are open and honest with your own heart. Then was the Two of Wands, and that says planning your future, making progress, activation, possibility is the choice between your comfort zone and new adventures. Planning and imagining can have us feeling like the observers of a dream, and our action is the only way to bring that dream to life. The only way to take strides toward your goal is to make your move. And then Justice says natural balance, or natural law, balance, karma, truth, wisdom, legal matters, fairness, cause and effect, integrity, objectivity, perspective, accountability. Learn from your experiences, take it all and grow from it. This energy is not about perfection, but about fairness and honesty. Be impartial as you reframe your reality and work to remove any negative emotional charge from the equation. Right. So that negative emotional charge bit was like really, I think set in with this space and, the way I perceive things with my parents after the lifetime of things demonstrating that and all that. So while I was skating and with this whole Two of Wands thing, I started thinking I do have a possibility, right? So I have like these ideas of things that I kind of feel like are part of my path. Like I feel like at some point the Philadelphia thing is still there, but I feel like there was a piece of that was the thing that was blocking me from being able to see other ways, right? So you're so focused on this one idea that I fail to see other possibilities. And, like I could absolutely see myself ending up in like Philadelphia and having my own little space. I talked about my little cottage house and the space of it and all that stuff. But it's like, what do I got to do to be able to have a space of my own anyway? It's like, because there's a whole lot of that missing, right? Like the money, for one thing. That is a big component that is missing from being able to do that. But then I've talked on here several times about how back in December, my sister-in-law made the comment that if I wanted to go with them when they moved, I would be more than welcome to. And of course, it makes sense because, they had her mom living with them for a long time. And for a while, her mom was helpful to have around. And then there at the end, obviously not as much, especially with the kid. But they were used to having another person there. And now that person's not there. So she extended that offer, that possibility. And, what I've talked about before is it gave me the opportunity to start dreaming about what I would come up with, where I would end up, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and all these kind of things. It's like that was one of those missing pieces because before she said that, I saw no way out of this. And it's like, I'm stuck. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Don't have any kind of savings. Don't have a substantial enough income to make anything happen. It's like, what do I do? How do I make that happen? It's like, my existence, I've talked a lot about how I was essentially born to keep the toxicity of the generations before me going, right? Suck the life out of me, try to keep the old people here longer than is necessary. And I've talked a lot on that, and it's like I have not missed my grandfather at all since he's been gone, because that was essentially all that I was to this family, was a means of they can suck the life out of me and keep him here longer. But then I stopped agreeing with that. Right, and I started setting boundaries, and the stuff with my parents and my my grandmother, like all those things started coming into light and started to make sense. It's like, I don't want any of this. I want some kind of life. I don't want this existence where I don't have any purpose except for just to clean up after the older generations. And because I'm here to do that, they don't have to take care of anything anymore, because it just gets dumped on me, right? That's a bullshit existence. Nobody wants to live that way. And yeah, so with the skating yesterday, I started thinking, it's like the two wands bit. It's like, this is what I've known, but I'm not stuck, because they did say I could go out there and stay with them for a while. So now, and then two, I've gotten a lot of those messages talking about get clear on what it is you want so you can manifest the things, right? Know what you want so you can manifest your way to that. And, I got a lot of messages that were saying you're putting muddy things out there. You're saying you want this, but then you're doing this, which is actually blocking you from being able to do that. So it's like, all right, well, how do I get out of my own way? And So of course, a big part of that is realizing that if I'm holding out for Philadelphia, I'm missing all sorts of stuff that might be essential before that. And even this, like all this stuff, I've seen this stuff too. I just wasn't ready to register it either. So, like I remember saying Oklahoma isn't my opportunity, and yet at the same time, there was something there that was like, but we're not walking away from that yet. And it's like, I don't think this is the opportunity. So I focused on, getting my brother, or helping him get his stuff packed up and get moved out there, right? And while I was out there, Gracie kept trying to talk me into coming out there with them. She's like, you might like Durant. It's like, well, I might, but I don't know. And really thinking about the dog situation too. I got 3 dogs. This hard-headed beastie, this one, my Tassie, he's the only one that hasn't been around their dogs. He's the one that's kind of been more of a concern for me because he's a blue heeler. He's very hard-headed, very stubborn. And they have the Basset Hound, which is very hard-headed, very stubborn. It's like, and I wasn't sure. In this space, I didn't have somebody around to be able to help pay attention to, their cues and all this. I think since they are out there now in Oklahoma, that should we go that way, we're going to make it work. Because these 3 are, they're mine. They're not going anywhere without me. And we'll just figure it out. We've talked about that before, and, Jen said that many times, is we'll figure it out, right? So then there's that piece where there's been a few times that I have struggled with the idea of, could I live with her, my sister-in-law, from the standpoint of, she reminds me a lot of my mom. And when I was with them in Oklahoma, it's like we had this one conversation where we just kind of had to like just stop and like walk away from it. But even then, realizing that's something that you can do is stop the conversation and move away from it because nothing's happening. Because of course right now she works at a church, and I will not go to a church because religion is literally a step backwards from where I'm at, from where I've been going, from the path I'm on. It is absolutely a step backwards, and I will not do that. So what I've been thinking about on that end was, I can see some of the enabling possibilities or the inserting herself more than necessary in certain things. But maybe, okay, the big thing is, she is not my mother, right? She might remind me of my mother in a lot of ways, but she is not my mother. And where I am now, who I am now, I can set boundaries and not allow myself to get run over. Or, and if we're in a space together, we all would like peace. That's a big part of why they left, was because the peace was not found in this town very well. So it's like, I don't think that's really a legitimate problem. That's me trying to insert that there could be a problem and therefore not doing anything on it, because is that problem better than this problem? But that problem is not a problem unless I allow it to actually become a problem, right? So I am capable of seeing the stuff that my mom has done and where it hasn't worked for me. And whereas when I was a little kid, I was unable to set the boundaries I'm 42. I can set boundaries now, right? So, we can have grown-up conversations, and maybe there's some things I can help her with as well on the relaxing end, and not being overly obsessive on the feeling like you have to control everything, because I'm very much learning that I'm not in control of shit. And I never really have been, and like the little illusion of control is really just blocking other things from being possible and from potentially taking root, right? So I sent my brother a message last night and was like, so maybe I'll manifest my way out to Oklahoma. And he's like, oh. And of course, I've talked a lot about how he's talked about knowing that I'm stuck in the family situation. Like he's said many times he feels bad about leaving me stuck with them by myself. So then I was thinking this morning, it's like, because of course a lot of this is going back to what am I going to do, how am I going to contribute, what will be my role, all these things. And I'm seeing things that I've gotten glimpses of before, but never really registered and held on to either. So, okay, like one of them, I've talked about like starting a little shop for my frames and stuff where I paint them and sell them online. And I still really like that idea because it gives me something artistic to do that I enjoy. But then also, I don't need 5 million of them. So I have a ton and I love them. But maybe that's a way that I can share that part of myself with the world, right? But one of the big snags was I cannot stand the idea of trying to figure out how to package something to ship it. However, my brother has been selling some things on eBay and whatnot, and now I don't think it's got like any of like the glass and stuff like that. It's mainly like jerseys and stuff, but he's getting familiar with the shipping process and all that stuff. So then I was thinking, because of course one of the, like that's been a big thing that I've had a hard time with fully stepping into what I want to be doing. Like with the writing, I've absolutely needed this journaling thing is essential, and it is a huge part to the story. I feel like essentially it's a rough draft of sorts, but there's not all that information needs to be shared with everybody, and not all of it what I want to anyway. I'm pretty transparent though. I don't like it. I'm not gonna lie about stuff, so it's like if you lie about something, then you have to remember who you told the things to and what you said, and then that's where it gets really messy because you can't maintain that for everybody. That goes back to that girl in high school that was telling everybody she had cancer in less than like 6 months to live or whatever. And it's like, she told me and I was just like, no, you don't. And it's like, I don't know why I know this, but I know without a doubt you do not. And a part of it, I think, was the way she was presenting it. But when that information got back to her mom, oh my God, did not go well. Of course, I did not get to experience that in the fullness of what it was, because I got to hear about it from, down the grapevine. Because I think what happened in that situation was somebody's parents found out about it and went to her mom and said, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I heard about this and I'm so sorry. And her mom was just like, what? No, she doesn't. So yeah, one of those things. It's like, we don't got time for that bullshit, y'all. There's too much else to worry about and to potentially enjoy in life if you get yourself unstuck from the sticky situations, right? So I have decided, I think it's so much It's funny to me too that just the other day, I got pissed at something with I got pissed at my dad about something, and I was just like, this is the last full month I am here. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but this is it. I'm done. And then all like these other things start shifting me in the direction that I want to go. It's like, oh, this makes sense. See, and I've been thinking a lot about like, oh, okay, like I talked about, I've talked about having some sort of like YouTube collaboration with my brother. I don't know what we would do. Maybe we would do something with Gracie so she could have some kind of direction, because she's really hell-bent on wanting to have a YouTube channel. But it's like she doesn't know what to do, and she's making these little videos that okay, she posted a video of her dog doing something, and she keeps saying it's going viral. It's like, it's not going viral, and part of the views are because you keep going in and looking at it. So it's like we're trying to teach her about like things that she needs to be aware of, like not including the dog's ID tags in case it has a phone number or something on it, that kind of stuff. It's like these little things that a 9-year-old kid doesn't have the ability to really understand why that information doesn't need to get out there, or why people might not want certain, or to be like, she had a video where her dad was in the video and he wasn't doing anything, but it was just one of those things. It's like, what's the point of this? So yeah, so we can work on that. But it's like, so all these things that I am doing and want to do more of and put myself into more, but I felt blocked because of this space. It's like, okay, so if my brother and I collaborate, and then also if he's willing to help me with like some of the packaging type stuff and like figuring out that kind of logistics on that stuff, because he's his work situation, he's not going back to, like, I think he's on disability for basically having a meltdown because the work environment triggered a bunch of shit that he'd grown up with that he didn't even realize was a problem until the work environment. And because he's a Capricorn, that's a very important thing, right? But it's like, I've told him many times, it's like, that's just not a good kind of, those jobs don't really work for anybody, really. It's essentially, we're buying into the system, so we're just going along with somebody else's ideas of what we should or shouldn't do, and then getting bullied in the process, and people sucking the life out of us because we've entered into some kind of agreement with it. But I don't want that. I don't agree with that life anymore. That's not a life I want, right? So yeah, so it's like, I've been brainstorming these things, and it's like, I've thought before, when I first started talking to him about if we could do like something on YouTube together, and then I had like this sort of distant thought of GenWorks HR. At some point, it would be cool if she was able to like handle the like financial aspects of a lot of things, and we worry less about that, but we're doing something that is feeding into, it's bringing money in for the group. And this is another thing that I've been thinking a lot about today, because of course all the stuff that I talked about with my brother and the things that I've been connecting with there. But also, okay, so my uncle was mowing today, and my grandfather used to do it. And then when, obviously, he's dead, so he can't do it anymore, my uncle kind of got pushed into retirement before he was really ready, but he was, like, on the verge of it. He just wasn't completely there yet. But he got pushed into it. So now he has ended up taking on that task, right? So in this space, right? So I live in my parents' house. Next to us is an empty lot. The house on the corner, that's people that aren't related in any way, but going, like you turn left, and my aunt's house is the next one, and then my grandparents' house is the next one after that. So they're like all connected, right? My grandfather would occasionally mow over here. He would usually mow the front yard, and then my dad would get to worry about the backyard stuff. My uncle that lives over there he would like go around and like he'd trim the bushes for my grandfather, or do like weed eating and taking care of that kind of stuff as well. So what I was thinking about today was my uncle that doesn't live in the compound, the one that has escaped the compound by a couple miles. He has been taking on the mowing task, right? Because he's retired now, so he's not got anything else going on that end besides taking care of those types of things. I was outside with the dogs. I didn't know he was mowing today until I got out there and I saw it was mowing over at my grandma's house. Since my father has had his strokes, my uncle's been mowing our yard as well. And every now and then I think he'll get the other uncles, but not necessarily. But when I saw him, it's like, I'm pretty sure he's going to want to mow over here too, because the grass is tall, and he's been the one that's doing it. So since it's on the path, it's here, already connected, so I saw him out there, and I had the dogs out at that moment because the new dog was out to potty, and I, didn't want to put her in the house before she had a chance to do anything, and was letting Gidget run a little bit. And so, I see him over there mowing. It's like, all right. So I start picking up sticks over here, right in our backyard, and I try to pick up Gidget's toys in the backyard before he mows, so they don't get, so we don't lose any more of her little balls, because it happens. The little chuck it balls occasionally get run over and don't fend well by the lawnmower. But my mom called me before, or I think I'd taken a bunch of sticks over and put them on the burn pile. And then my mom called me and said, open the gate up, he's going to mow. And I said, did he call you or text you already? And she said, no, but he told me yesterday that he was going to be doing this. It's like, well, that would have been useful information to have ahead of time. I could have already had some of this done, right? Knowing that he was going to be there. It worked out because I woke up in a great mood because I've been brainstorming this stuff. Not right now. But yeah, so I was brainstorming the stuff already. I woke up in a good mood. I was out there earlier than like normally. The time I was out there by today, I was, that's usually when I'm getting up and starting to move because I've delayed myself on getting going. Right, trying to get in the good feeling space. It's like, hey, I'm already in the good feeling space, so we're just trying to maintain that. And all that fun stuff, and we did. Figure out where my phone's not shadowing on my face. Anyway, I started picking up sticks in the side lot after I put the dogs in, and of course he saw me out there and saw I opened the gate and had it all ready, and he likes that it's all ready because he's kind of like my grandfather on that end, say it once and it's handled. And so I was going around picking up sticks. Well, then my grandma comes out and she said the cable guy is there and she wants somebody in the house with her, right? I mean, that's essentially the point. She said, let your mom or Brian know that the cable guy's here, right? So somebody's supposed to go in there. It's like, well, Brian's working. We're not going to mess up what he's doing. My mom was getting ready to go over there, but she had just gotten out of the shower, so I ended up going over there for a little bit. But I was just thinking, it's like, this is the way it's supposed to work. Everybody has something that they... Okay, like, I feel like Brian likes mowing to some degree. He's willing and able and, you know, a pro on those riding mowers, and my grandpa has a really good one, so, you know, and since he's this area, just uses that one. But yeah, it's like, it's something he was doing, he was enjoying it. I knew that there were some sticks that needed to be picked up, so I stepped in, was starting to do that and getting it ready so he didn't have to worry about that on that end. And then, you know, it's like, you do what you can, right? You don't, it's not about killing yourself to do everything. That's not how a useful society, community, whatever works, right? So it's like, basically, like, the whole system in place right now has us brainwashed to thinking that we have to do everything by ourselves, and if we aren't doing everything by ourselves, then there's something, we are failing miserably. But it's like, we're not supposed to, you know. It's like I always make a big deal about, like, the little things I come up, or I find online, where it's talking about, like, based on your zodiac sign, what type of witch are you, or whatever. It's like always putting Cancer in the kitchen. It's like, I like to eat. I don't really love to cook. But if it is a group effort, I'm much more willing to do it. But if it's just falling on me to do, I don't enjoy that at all. And I think that that's like the bigger part, is I'm more about the community aspect of it. And, you know, okay, so like my mom does like to cook, or she used to anyway, and, you know, she was always really good at it. And for me, I'm more into like the quality time, and yes, I will help, but, you know, also just being around to have the conversations and find other ways I can help. Like, okay, I can clear the table and set the table and all that fun stuff. That doesn't bother me. But like, just meal prep in and of itself, it's like, that's not something I really enjoy. So every time I see the things that are like, oh, Cancer zodiac is a kitchen witch, it's like, yeah, there's something you're missing on there, because I got a whole lot of Cancer placements and a whole lot of on that. Stop, please. But it was like, stop. You know, but like, for having spaces where people take care of this or that in yard, like, something I do like, like for yard work, I do like flowers, and I like making things pretty. But then too, I like it as a collaborative effort more. So, you know, like when my mom used to participate in the yard work stuff, like planting flowers and pulling weeds and all that stuff, when it was a combined effort, I enjoyed it, right? But then when it just became something that fell to me completely, then it's like, well, that's not as enjoyable now. Like smoke, I don't know if you ran over somebody or something, or the neighbor's probably doing something, but anyway, it just got distracting. But like that type of existence, and like the idea that, okay, like, money is actually the least valuable form of energy exchange, I guess. So then I'm thinking, like, okay, so like, there are, you know, and even family groups that like having restaurants and stuff, right? And that's something they're passionate about. So if you have a family group like that, then, okay, so maybe they got all these aspects of it handled, and yes, there's an income to that as well, but maybe not. Maybe the income's not the most important piece of it. Maybe it's having a balance where others, are able to have like or handle the yard care and making the things outside look pretty and inviting and welcoming people in, right? So maybe that's part of the exchange, so I was thinking too, like my aunts, I don't know if one or both of them went in on getting my grandma this little raised garden thing so she could have a couple tomato plants up by the house. But it was only useful the one time where my aunts were taking care of it, right? So my grandma, she's like, 83 or 80 something at this point. That's 84. No, 83. She'll be 84. Like, that's not something she really cares about anymore. But, there are people, younger generations, that can do those things and sometimes enjoy those things, right? So I'm not much for, like, planting actual gardens with, like vegetables and stuff. I don't know anything about those. But there are people that do, and that do enjoy that stuff. No! Take a break. They're rushing me. Stop. Right, so there are... Stop. I'm going to throw you out of the room. That's just all there is to it. Go. Come on. Out. Go. He didn't want that. Oh. Fuck. Why do they always do this to me? Oh, that's something. Okay. So I was also thinking about, my sister-in-law was like, well, maybe we'll have to talk about something like on the painting end of things because, my chaos wall's over here. Okay. My chaos. But it's pretty chaotic, right? But I've talked about how, like, when I was painting, it's like that wall and like these other two, or other wall and a half, were kind of done as more of an afterthought. And like, I realized after I painted the first wall and a half that I wanted to continue it on. But I didn't skate first because I was so focused on wanting to get it done. So then it ended up being this chaotic mess, right? So it's like, I was thinking about that too. It's like, but when I'm in that space, the chaos is from this space and from like all the things that I've been trying to sort through in this space. But like, okay, I'll just take this thing off. This, yeah, it's still busy, but way less dramatically chaotic. And here's this thing. Right, so it's not for everybody, but I love it. It's kind of my artistic flair on, I don't like just solids. Where necessary, the headboard I actually bought off somebody I found on Facebook. I wanted a headboard, so I had somewhere to go with my glasses and some of my rocks and stuff. And I found that one, and it was already painted this color. So I even got the paint that they had used for it, the remainder of it. I got that too. So it's like, that actually fits in with my baseboards and everything, the trim in here, because they're turquoise. So it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. But like, this very much more toned down version, it's like, that's more me. The chaos came from the space that I'm in and having all these things pulling at me and knowing I wanted to continue the paint that way, or not completely that way, but it ended up way more chaotic than I feel I would naturally be inclined towards. So it's like, I don't think she would have a problem if I was painting it like the rest of this. I mean, maybe the big tree, I don't know. It's kind of funny because Gracie actually asked me a while back if I would paint her room like this. It's like, maybe not as chaotic, but we'll have to talk to your mom. But I like painting stuff, right? So that's something that I can offer. But also, finding other ways to bring it together too. So then it's like the whole idea of moving out there. It's like it would give me a chance to build something for myself, while also in collaboration with my brother and his family, right? So I'm still there to help with the kid and the dogs, as needed as well. And, obviously we're going to have to navigate some things and figure some shit out, but if there's at least the possibility for that to happen, it's way more inviting and welcoming and exciting. And I think I just rhymed that. Yeah, cool. But yeah, anyway, so that's the thoughts of today. Oh, and I will say on the twin flame end, since I have mentioned that as well, when I started thinking about that, or like this possibility, it's like, like one of the things I started doing last night was, okay, what was skating like out there? Because I'm pretty sure it's not as well tended as the newer schools up here with, newer parking lots, right? So I started looking at that, and it's like, well, I mean, plus it's hot as fuck right now, and there's like a heat warning every day. But I played roller derby, so I started looking at like roller derby in the area, and I think I might have to like travel for that if I was to do that. But, I started looking at like a bunch of different things that actually would matter and ways to get connected to people. Right, and then I started looking at like metaphysical shops and whatnot, and most of those aren't nearby. But I mean, maybe that too is something that maybe my brother and I could come up with something on that end eventually too. I don't know, just random thoughts I'm throwing around and trying to brainstorm, and what do I want to make, right? Because that's the big thing, is the co-creation with the universe, right? We're here to co-create with the universe the life that we want, and what would that look like? And I saw a thing the other day, his name, Garrain Jones, had a thing where he was talking about like the images and symbols and the okay, like how on the dollar we see "In God We Trust," and it's next to, or it's over the image of the White House, and so you're basically taught by this thing reinforcing itself that the thing is God, and it's not. It likes to think it is. It's been allowed to believe it is for a long time, but it's not. So it's like, that too makes sense on why, like religion, like really went hard on this idea about, trying to scare people about, not about like paper currency going away, because then they can't perpetuate that. If you can spend money from your bank account to like whatever store online and never even see a dollar bill, right? But the premise of it is still there. But since you're not seeing that image, you're not seeing the message trying to sneakily brainwash you into thinking that the system is the God, then the system is going to crumble. And it just is. It's time. Like all the, I remember listening to all this stuff about like how terrible the new age is, all this stuff is, and new age thinking, blah, blah, blah. It was like, we're already there. It's like the technology and having this stuff, you know. I heard something that I think we were talking about it at dinner the other day, and somebody was talking about how, like, AI, we already have it, and it's something that, okay, like, I remember going to Germany. I do not speak German. My ex, or my now ex, did not speak German either. He's of German descent, but did not have that himself, right? So when we would go to a restaurant or something, like, there was one place that, like, there was nobody there that spoke any English whatsoever. So that one would have been a struggle. But he had an app on his phone where he put it on, and, like, we were able to figure out what the food was because it translated it based on the image that it saw. So it's like those things, that's new age stuff. That's helpful stuff. That's like ways we can communicate, you know, between, you know, it's something that we have to take away the language barrier, even though we might still have the language barrier, right? So it's like the stuff is there, it's useful, and there are a lot of ways we can't exist without it. But yet, you know, religion and politics want you to be, like, terrified of it and think all these bad things about it to lock you into the fear so that they can remain in control. But the biggest thing that's going to happen is those systems are just going to fall away because they don't work. Because everybody's realizing they don't work. I remember hearing a lot about younger generations leaving the church. It's like, yeah, because the church has brainwashed us into thinking that abuse is okay, and it's not. So, you know, like, when I kind of was going back and forth with my sister-in-law the other day, I was like, once you really see and understand how it has been a key thing that has kept you in the abusive situation, it's not okay anymore. And then you're not going to backtrack and go back into it because, well, you realize that it is the way. No. Abuse is never the way. You know, and I've said many times, like, if something doesn't work for any one of us, for any single one individual, that is essentially that space of leaving the devil his foothold or whatever. You know, that is what allows the evil to shift in, because everything's trying to block one from being able to have a certain or have a life of their choosing, but that's not okay. You know, it's like we are here to do this together, to co-create together, to make something beautiful together. We are here to build bridges where, you know, there have been, you know, we've been convinced that there's only division there. But and that whole idea too, you know, like I've talked many times about how, you know, you hear a lot with the American propaganda of united we stand, divided we fall, and yet their very means of existing is to keep everybody so completely divided within themselves that they can't stand up against the system. So as we start to realize that and start to take our power back, the system crumbles. And that's a good thing. Anyway, this is all. Oh, she's excited again. Yep. So let's see if I can get her in here with me. And as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.